Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Cam Newton questions if Russell Wilson can still win consistently. This ain't Seattle Russ. There's an old saying that says that one man's trash is another man's treasure. In the NFL, that isn't always true, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are certainly hoping Russell Wilson can be treasure for them. Wilson had an incredible career with the Seattle Seahawks before being traded to the Denver Broncos in 2022. Since then, Wilson has had a fall from grace, going from one of the best quarterbacks in the league to being cut outright by the Broncos. Wilson does have an opportunity to revive his career with the Steelers, but one former NFL MVP doesn't think he can ever be the version of himself that was in Seattle again. Cam Newton was a quarterback in the NFL from 2011 to 2021, winning MVP once and also taking the Carolina Panthers to a Super Bowl. Before injuries took their toll, Newton was one of the NFL's best. Now, he hosts his own podcast called 4th and 1 with Cam Newton, and on a recent episode, he placed every current starting quarterback into one of three tiers. The first tier was franchise players and the second tier players who need to prove they can win. The final tier was for players who may or may not be the problem on their team. Both Wilson and Justin Fields fell into the second tier, with Newton saying Wilson isn't the same player he once was. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I don't know how we're gonna figure it out, Newton said about the quarterback battle. We need to know if you can win consistently because this ain't Seattle Russ. We coming off of Denver Russ. Newton is correct that Wilson hasn't looked like the version of himself that helped lead the Seahawks to 2 straight Super Bowl appearances, but he also wasn't as awful in Denver as many people think. He wasn't great, and he was certainly part of the problem at times, but last year, he put up respectable numbers. Working in Arthur Smith's offense this year should help hide some of his issues too. Wilson was always at his best in Seattle with a great rushing attack alongside him. With Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren both taking some of the load off him, Wilson shouldn't be forced to be the straw that stirs the drink in the Steelers' offense. He'll have numerous responsibilities, but he shouldn't be the focal point. That will allow him to play with less pressure while also not putting too much strain on his aging body. At 35, Wilson isn't getting any younger, and he's taken a ton of punishment the last few years. He shouldn't have to be the Seahawks version of himself for the Steelers to win. Either way, whether it's Seattle Wilson, Denver Wilson, or something in between, he'll be an upgrade over what the Steelers have had at quarterback. In that regard, he should help contribute to winning football games. As long as the offensive line doesn't let him get beaten up too much, Wilson should be able to make the Steelers better than they were in 2023. If he doesn't though, Fields is always waiting right behind him. The Steelers having that lottery ticket makes the unknown of Wilson's level of play a little easier to deal with. Kenny Pickett reveals feelings on Steelers' departure to Eagles. It wouldn't be surprising if a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans follow Kenny Pickett this season. He's just a year removed from being the future of the franchise, and he relocated only across state to the Philadelphia Eagles. But Pickett is clearly moving on. While speaking to the media on July 8 at the Champion Mindset Symposium at Shore Regional High School in New Jersey, Pickett shared that his move across the Keystone State has been very positive. Change is a great thing, said Pickett, via the Philadelphia Inquirer's Ben Istvan. I'm going through it right now. I was in Pittsburgh for 7 years, and now I'm over in Philadelphia. A lot of people probably have some negative views on change, but that's really just your outlook on it. I think if you keep a positive mindset, it'll all work out for the better. The Steelers traded Pickett and the 120th overall pick in this year's NFL Draft to the Eagles. In exchange, the Steelers received the 98th pick and 2 2025 seventh-rounders. Pickett requested a fresh start after the Steelers signed quarterback Russell Wilson this offseason. Pickett received his wish just days later with the trade. The 2022 first-round pick left the Steelers after only 2 seasons. In 25 games, he threw 13 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Pickett also led the team to a 14-10 record in 24 starts. He will serve as the primary backup to Jalen Hurts with the Eagles. But there's still some hype around Pickett heading into training camp. SI.com's Eagles Today's Ed Cracks wrote on May 22 that Pickett outperformed Hurts during an offseason workout. The backup quarterback looked sharper than Jalen Hurts, to be honest, Cracks wrote. The Eagles can win games with him if something happens to Hurts. Cracks noted that his observation was a potential overreaction, especially because the media doesn't get the opportunity to view every offseason rep. But even if Pickett looks great on every rep this summer, Steelers fans would probably still warn the Eagles to keep their Pickett expectations in check. Pickett posted a perfect passer rating during the 2023 preseason. But that mattered very little when the regular season began. Despite the stellar preseason, in some statistics, Pickett actually performed worse last year than he did during his rookie campaign. Unfortunately for the Steelers, Pickett was not able to develop into a franchise quarterback. But in just 24 starts, he did lead the team to 6 fourth-quarter comebacks and posted 7 game-winning drives. Half of the games Pickett won in Pittsburgh included him leading the Steelers on a game-winning drive. Pickett did nearly all of his best work in the fourth quarter of games. Over 2 seasons with the Steelers, Pickett registered a 64% completion percentage and 7.2 yards per attempt average in the fourth quarter. He was better during the fourth quarter in both of those statistics than any other quarter. In fact, Pickett didn't average more than 6.1 yards per attempt in any other quarter than the fourth. Pickett addressed that success at the Champion Mindset Symposium. "I don't think too much, and I think that's because of all the preparation I had leading up to the weekend before that," Pickett said. "I'm never trying to psych myself up or get myself too worked up because I put so many hours in to get to that point that I'm just out there playing. The preparation is so key to becoming successful at your game." Insider, Steelers might make surprising move with Cam Sutton post-suspension. The Pittsburgh Steelers needed help at slot cornerback this offseason. When their former cornerback Cam Sutton was released by the Detroit Lions due to an arrest warrant, the Steelers were named as a likely team to give Sutton a second chance because of their prior history. Steelers' Cam Sutton looks on before an away game. Sutton spent 6 seasons with the Steelers after being selected by the team in the 2017 NFL Draft. He left Pittsburgh after the 2022 season to join the Lions, signing a 3-year deal worth $33 million. However, his legal troubles have put his NFL career in serious jeopardy. The decision for the Steelers to give Sutton a second chance has been heavily scrutinized by many. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk has been one of the Steelers' biggest critics regarding their decision to bring Sutton back. Florio joined 93.7 The Fan on Wednesday to discuss his opinions on the Steelers and Sutton. During the show, Florio speculated that Sutton might actually be released by the team after he serves his suspension. "I think one of the questions here, when the 8 games is concluded, after the Giants' Monday night game, they may not take him back," stated Florio. "They may decide by then, we're good, we're fine. There's no guaranteed money. They can move on from him if they want to once that suspension expires." The idea that the Steelers would go through all the trouble of signing Sutton amid the allegations against him just to release him after he serves his suspension does seem a bit odd. However, Florio truly believes it's not off the table. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Patrick Peterson? Leave your opinion in the comments.